Hi, how are you? Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Okay, we go through this every week. I have to be thankful that I don't have some of the problems that I hear some other demonstrator friends talking about having with YouTube in particular, which is a shame because I'm kind of hoping to get another YouTube channel going soon. Anyway, here I am, so I'm where I'm supposed to be. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Roberta Calacino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I come to you every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time with a free crafting class. Typically, I make cards, but occasionally 3D items. At the moment, I'm trying to figure out when to do my 12 Days of Christmas. I had been doing it starting on December 1st and going through December 12th, and there were a couple of thoughts about that. One was that if I did make something that someone wanted to purchase the products that I used or make what I made, I really wasn't giving them enough time to get that done in time for Christmas. The other thing is that this year I'm going to be away for part of December, so that won't work. Now already it's, what the heck is it, November 13th? So November's already like half over, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do, so whenever I decide to start it, it will be a surprise. I also haven't decided if I'm going to do that at 7 o'clock at night. I do it for 12 nights in a row, or 12 days in a row, or if I may just try a different time for the heck of it. It seems like a lot of people catch me on the replay anyway, so I'm not sure how much the time matters. If you have any particular thoughts on the matter, please feel free to share those with me. And I will turn the camera down and we'll get going so you can see what I've been working on. All right, just making a couple of adjustments here. Okay, it's still, my camera flops and I don't really understand why it flops. It's just always just a tiny bit off. I think maybe I just need to put it up. There we go. Put it up a little bit higher to make up for the flop and then get some of my my stuff out of the way there because there's always a little something showing there. Okay. That looks good from where I'm sitting. So, as I said, I'm Roberta Calacino. The name of my business is 11 Lakes Stamper, and you are in my Facebook group called 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives, just in case you happen to find me by mistake. That happens a lot. That's how I go down rabbit holes myself. I find things by mistake. If you are going to place an order with me in the month of November, please use this host code. If your order is under $150, if your order is over $150 before tax and shipping, then don't use the host code because you will get some rewards that you can use yourself. And if you don't understand how that works or you have any questions, please just ask me and I will be happy to answer you. Okay, this is my daily creative prompts calendar. I've explained before that you do not need to follow this in order. I just figure if I'm going to call it a calendar, it should have the dates in the correct order, but you can do whatever you want. The only thing on here that's actually date sensitive is my Wednesday night live and my monthly coffee and a card class, which just happened yesterday, in fact. And in the month of December, just as a reminder, I won't be around for the second Tuesday in November, or in December rather. So in December, it will be held on the first Tuesday, which I believe is December 3rd. Okay, and Stampin' Up! Popped a new sale, and the sale starts today and goes just for 2 days only. Last month, we had some sales that went on for the entire month, but that is not the case here. So get it while it's hot. Just checking, we have a shadow. There's always seems to be a shadow. So the sale is on 20% off on bundles. So a bundle is when you buy a stamp set. I'll show you as an example. When you buy a stamp set like this one, let's say, that comes with coordinating dies, you get 10% off when you buy those things together instead of buying them separately. Now they're offering 20% off, and I'm guessing that that is in addition to the 10% off, which means you will actually be getting 30% off. This also applies to stamp sets that come with a punch as a bundle, and it also applies to stamp sets like the Seaside Wishes. I'm looking to see if that's where I can grab it, but I don't see everything with it. So the Seaside Wishes, there was also one called Citrus something or other. They come in a bundle, but they not only do you get dies, but you get what's called a hybrid embossing folder where the dies are included. So you're getting 3 things for 10% off, or in this case, because of the sale, an additional 20% off. Designer Series paper is 20% off. So far, I haven't heard any limitations, although typically they don't include the small 6x6 packages of the Color Family papers, but I haven't heard that about this year, so let me check. But 20% off on all of our typical 12x12 Designer Series papers, 10% off on cardstock, and 10% off on ink. Those are great things to do if you're thinking of starting some crafting, if you've taken a few classes maybe, or you watched a few videos and you think you'd like to try this, but you don't want to break the bank. This is a great time to take care of that. It's also a great time if you're already way down the rabbit hole to stock up on supplies. So to stock up on your Designer Series paper and stock up on your cardstock, maybe get some colors that you haven't used yet. Great time to do that. All right, so give that some thought. All right, so yesterday at our coffee and a card class, we made a bunch of cards, but what I'm going to show you first is, and this is good for anybody who has not been to one of my coffee and a card classes. So my classes typically sit in a basket like this. So each one of the cards that we're making sits in a basket. And then I have a little table, whatever you call it, a little pincher thing. Something like this. I'm not speaking clearly today. Something like this that the card sits in so that everybody sitting at the table can see the card that we're modeling our card after. And then all of the pieces that you need to make that particular card are in a bag like this. And you get those. So this would be the sample card that you would see. And I love to tell this story, but what's really nice is that when I first started doing coffee and a card, all of the ladies who came to the class wanted to copy my card exactly. It had to look just like mine. It had to use the same colors I used. It had to do everything. It had to be exactly like I made it. And as time has gone on, they are now very often doing their own things. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that today. So if you were in my class, to make this card, you would need, first of all, a white card base, a basic white card base. And what I would hand you is this little packet. So this little packet has your basic white card base in it. It has the pre-cut cardstock and Designer Series paper that you need. And it has the pre-embossed and pre-cut card front, which has been embossed with the Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder, which can be found, I think it might be an online only now, but it's still available. It's still current. It carried over from last year's holiday catalog. And here is the label that has the information on this embossing folder should you want to order it. It has the item number and the price, which is what you would need if you wanted to order it. And you would order that by shopping in my store at www.rcolasino.stampinup.net. I also always bring some extra pieces of things with me because, you just never know when somebody has an oops. These things happen, right? The other thing that everybody would get in their card kit was they got a piece of ribbon. Now this piece of ribbon is a little over 12 inches long, which seems like a lot, but if you wanted to make a bow like I made on mine, you would need all 12 inches. However, some of the folks at the class decided they didn't want to make bows. Between you, me, and the wall, most of them don't like making bows. Bows are kind of scary. And I agree, sometimes bows are hard to make. I had a scrap here, but I don't know where it is, so we're going to use the full size, but you'll see what we ended up doing instead. So I also brought because this is what I used, but I always bring extra sentiments with me to class in case someone wants to do something different. So while this was a Christmas card, there's nothing about this paper that necessarily screams Christmas. It is the Winter Meadow DSP, which was in last year's September to December 2023 mini, and it carried over to this year, and I bought a bunch of it because it's just beautiful. I love this paper. It's still available. It's just got some watercolory looks on one side. This piece here is great for scrapbooking. Again, it kind of looks like, some deer in a forest in the mist. It's got some grays. It's got, well, I haven't opened the other one yet. So this one is trees and it's the blues, and then this is like watercolor. And I've used a lot of this paper, a lot of it, which is why I purchased another package. And who knows, before the catalog retires or before the paper retires, I might order some more. It's just very pretty. But for anybody who didn't want to make a Christmas card, this did not have to be a Christmas card. This would be a beautiful birthday card if you had a winter birthday, or you just don't use the embossed piece in the back. So I try to offer people in my classes options because I don't know what everybody's into. Some people don't like Christmas cards, some people do. These are sort of non-traditional colors. This is the Moody Mauve color. So again, not a traditional red or green. And the cardstock is shaded spruce. And then I brought with me to the class, I think I put them in the wrong basket. I brought with me to the class these little tiny snowflake embellishments. And I also brought, which I didn't use on this card, but I also brought just some retired silver sequins with me that I thought might be pretty. I try not to use a lot of retired items in my classes, but I do on occasion. And this was really an exception to that rule, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. So here is our basic white card base, and here is our embossed piece. I thought that it went in this direction so that it was like heavier snow up towards the top of the sky and then got lighter as it came down. Some people thought, no, I think it goes that way, and you know what? It just plain doesn't matter. I cut this so that it would be the exact same size as the card base, as opposed to making it a little bit smaller like you might typically do. That was my choice, but if someone wanted it cut down smaller, I always bring my paper trimmer with me to the classes so that people can trim things up. All right, so glue bottles sometimes get clogged at class because people leave them standing up. If you're going to keep using it, it's almost best to lay it down on its side, and it's probably best to keep it covered when you're not using it, but I put pins in the side. If I can get it there we go. I put some pins right here in the side on this little piece of paper that I put here for that purpose, so that if we get a clogged glue bottle, we can clean it out really quickly, and then we're good to go. Because this paper has embossing, that means it kind of has nooks and crannies, and so I do go a little heavier on the glue than I normally recommend, because I want the glue to get into those nooks and crannies, and I want to make sure that I get good contact with my card base. So the easiest way to line this up, because I know it's the same exact size, is just to kind of do one of those. All right, let me set this aside for now. The next thing that we're going to do is just simply to adhere this piece to this piece. You want to keep in mind that if you're adding ribbon, where are you putting the ribbon? If you're putting a bow, where are you putting the bow? If you're putting the ribbon behind things, where are you putting it behind? Okay, so that's something to keep in mind as well before you put things together, because you could put things together and then realize that you shouldn't have. So I think I'm okay to show you what I want to show you with this. That was just very crooked, and my usual zhuzhing method didn't work, so I'm just lifting that up and putting it back down again, because until you really rub it down into place, you have that wiggle time to pick it back up and rearrange it. Everybody got 2 of these in their package as well, so that if they wanted to, they could use one or the other, or both, as a decorative liner on the inside of the card. I also like to bring some punched out or die cut out labels for them. And what I showed them with these labels, which are from the bundle Christmas labels, comes with 4 labels, and what's interesting about this is that some of these labels are very specific to the stamps. So this Merry Christmas to You, I know I brought a sample with me, but I don't know what happened. Someone might have used it, maybe, or maybe it's in here. Oh yeah, it is in here. So let me show you what I mean by really specific to the stamp. So you see the stamp here that says, where did it go? The stamp here that says Merry Christmas to You fits perfectly in these little spaces. So Merry Christmas to You. So you could stamp this on anything, including a card front or a rectangular piece or whatever, but if you stamp it on this, it's really meant to go with this. This other one you see is built the same way. Celebrate the holidays in all the ways. Those things are going to fit in here just perfectly. So I wanted to use this label. Again, that's the label that I used, but I chose in my sample to make a bow. So I looked to see which stamp would fit inside that particular label, and I think there were definitely more than one that would fit in there. Let me see. So I used Peace on Earth on my sample, and I'm looking to see what else might fit in that particular label. I think the word believe would fit in there quite nicely. And yes, it does. Okay. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to block that up. And the way we put the photopolymer stamps, or the way I recommend to put them on your block, is to put it down so that the stamp that you side with is facing down, and then pick it up with the block. Because the photopolymer stamps are very flexible, I could get that on the block and have it be really wonky. Okay, so if you drop it, like literally just kind of drop it on your table and pick it up, you know it's going to be straight. Now in that case it's not straight, but it's not bent either, whatever I'm trying to say. Yeah, so naturally, because I'm trying to show you how this works, I'm not getting it right, but there we go. So I've got one of these already cut out, and the only problem with that is that now I really have to be sure to stamp straight. If I stamped on just a scrap of paper and then die cut this, I could be sure to get it straight. So I always, again, give choices. So I used the Moody Mauve ink, but I don't know that the people in my class are going to want to use that ink. Maybe they just want to use basic gray, or maybe they want to use the shaded spruce, which is the color of the paper. So for this one, just because I already used the Moody Mauve yesterday, or whenever I made this sample, I'm going to go with the shaded spruce, just for something different. I'm also remembering that I don't believe I've used this stamp yet. And because it's photopolymer, we like to kind of prime it. There seems to be a little bit of a film that sits on the photopolymer stamps when you first get them. So I stamp a few times and I wiggle it around. And then after doing that 2 or 3 times, I clean it off using my Stampin' Chamois. Best thing ever, these chamois. And then I tap it on my hand to get all the water off. And then we just tap, tap, tap. We don't press. And then I'm just going to do a test stamp on my scrap paper here, just to be sure that I like the image. And I do. Okay. So now I think I'm ready to stamp. And now my only issue will be whether I get this straight or not. And your guess is as good as mine. So I want to get my head right over that, even if it means you're seeing my hair, and I apologize if you are. Perfect. Oh, I love when that happens. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what some of them decided to do, because either they didn't want to make a bow. Just for the record, I do offer to make them for them if they like, and I even brought a bow jig with me. But if you're mailing, this particular ribbon is a little bit bulky, so you might not want the bow. So what I showed them is that this stamp has these little edges in them. Now they're decorative for sure, but they don't have to be decorative. They could be something else as well. Okay, so what I'm going to say, or what I told them, was they can put it in there. Okay, then they're going to run that through, and then they're going to come, no, I didn't do that right. I never do it right the first time. Okay, so I want this to be, obviously I don't want to cover up my, and I don't want to bend that back, so I think I have to come up from the bottom. Isn't that funny? And when I showed it to them yesterday, I think I got it right the first time. But of course not tonight. Oh my goodness. So it's unraveling a little bit, and I'll show you a little trick for that too. So I'm going to take my ribbon scissors and just trim it a little bit because it makes it easier to work with. Okay, so I'm coming up from the bottom, and then with this one here I'm also going to come up from the bottom. Only I don't need quite as much ribbon now because I'm not making a bow. So what I'm wanting to do, I could have put this around this layer here if I hadn't glued it down first. I could have put it around that, and I probably should have, between you and me, probably should have. But I didn't, so we're going to put it here. And I could put it right across the middle, but the paper's pretty and I want us to see as much of it as possible. So no, we're not seeing a ton of the ribbon, okay? I get that. We're not seeing as much as you would see with a bow, but we're losing the bulk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it really quite a ways through because I only need the tiniest bit on the back and I want to save this ribbon. So I've got a piece of tape, just regular Scotch tape from my tape dispenser here, and I'm going to wrap that around and I'm going to tape that down. And now I'm going to wrap this around, and you see I'm not using anywhere near 12 inches of this ribbon, so I'm going to cut it right here because I definitely have enough ribbon left to make something else. I do want to make sure that that's not crooked though. Okay, and then I'm going to tape that down. And because I'm going to glue that down to there, I don't have to worry about that tape coming off. Now my little trick, which I don't usually show people, well I do have water here, is we've got this ragged edge thing here. And yes, I can trim it, but probably when the person you send this to pulls it in or out of the envelope, it may get ragged again. Now you don't have to do this. If you're a sewer, you might have something called fray check at home, and you could take care of it that way. But what I do is I keep one of these little lighters that you use for the fireplace or the gas grill. I keep it in my craft room. It's very hard for me to do this. There we go. And I just very quickly put that under there. I'm not setting it on fire. And what it does is it melts the fibers together. I normally will not do this unless I have a glass of water sitting right nearby, just in case, because I don't want to set fire to my house. Who does, right? So, all right. So now this is ready to go on here, and you can see this is going to be a very different look because I didn't put it down here, but I absolutely could have. So I could have taken this piece here and wrapped that around this piece before I glued the embossed piece on. But this is just a way to show you that there are different ways of doing things. So this is a different looking card, and I'm perfectly okay with that. The other thing I really want to point out to you, you've heard me talk about card sketches before. Well, a card sketch or a card layout is just a certain layout that you choose to make a card. So here we have two different layouts. We have the one where the square focal point is right in the middle. I want to make sure it's straight in the middle too. All right, and it's not, so I'm going to bring it down a tiny bit. That's better. And I want it to be straight. Okay. So here it's higher up. So these are two different card sketches. So here's a card sketch where you just have an embossed piece, which you don't have to have. You have I believe this one is 3 inches by 3 inches, and then the one underneath is like 3 5/8 by 3 5/8. I can certainly measure that for you. I have a ruler out here. Let me see if I've remembered that correctly. So yep, the larger piece, the cardstock, is 3 by 3, and the designer series paper is 3 and it's like 3 3/4. I guess it is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, so there are 2 different looks, but they're both equally nice. For the inside of this card, I think I used both of these. And I think what I did was let's see, did I cut them the right size? Yep. So I just put those down just to give the inside a little bit of interest, so it's not blank. And if it's too long, that's not a problem. It's better than if it's too short. And you can always just use your snips to trim it. So I'm going to put that one there. And then I'm going to layer this one, which I think I like better going in that direction. I don't know if it matters. And I'm going to layer that on top. And that one actually looks like it's just a touch too long, which is not a problem at all. We'll just take our snips and just trim the tiniest bit off. Okay, so there we go. There's the card that we made yesterday, but it's different. But some people made it like this. Some people made it with this down there. This way you get to see a little bit more of the embossing, which some people liked. And then I think, like I said, I think I put those sequins in a different container, or in a different basket. So when I open that other basket, we'll pull those out. And these boxes I got on Amazon. They come in a couple of different sizes. Here's another one, and I put things from different die sets and punches in there so that they're just easier to transport to classes, and I can find them easily as well when I need them. Okay, so the second card that we made hang on, let's just get that cleaned off and get that put away. Because these are basically see-through, it's very easy to put these down and lose them. They're also very sticky, so I've actually found them like stuck to the bottom of my mouse, so I've looked for it for days and then found it on the bottom of my mouse. I had someone take one home on the bottom of their purse after a class one time, so I really try to get these put away as soon as I'm done using them. Okay, so I did use the Sweetest Star stamp set in another class recently. Maybe not too recently, but back when the catalog first came out. And I had not used it in a coffee and a card class yet, so I decided to. And I gave the folks in my class a bunch of different options. So my sample card, oh yeah, that's where the extra of that one was. Put that where it belongs. This was my sample card. Okay. And, then I would hear things like, well, I don't really like that paper, or I don't think I want to do Santa Claus. I mean, yes, I want it to be a Christmas card, but I don't think I want to do Santa Claus. And all of those things are okay because I try to plan for those things. I also gave them a choice of using the blends, which some of them had never used before, or a choice of using the watercolor pencils, with the blender pens. Okay, so if you use the watercolor pencils with the blender pens, let me show you. I don't know if it'll show up too well on camera, but if you use the watercolor pencil with the blender pens, you get a red that's not as deep as you get with the blends. If you use the watercolor with the blender pens, you get a color that's not as deep. And the other thing was, instead of using real red, they could have used cherry cobbler, and they would have gotten a deeper red. I also showed them, which I showed you when I highlighted this set before, that you can score these pieces, these stars, to get a 3D image. And basically, once you score them, you just bend them like so, and then you've got a 3D image. It would be nice for decorating. I made napkin rings using these, which were really cute, and I think I showed you those on one of the lives. But for this particular card, people chose to not do that. You can glue this down, but definitely in the mail it's going to lose some of your whatever. I also pointed out, and I love being able to tell my people in my classes this, I pointed out that I made a mistake and put the whole card together and then went to stamp the sentiment on, which you don't want to do once the card is put together because the card has some bumps in it. So my image did not come out well, so I stamped it on a piece of paper, cut it out, and put it there. So in class I told them, do as I say, not as I do. Stamp your sentiment first and then build your card around it, because you will be able to do that with this particular design. Also, knowing that not everybody might love that paper, I grabbed some paper, some current paper, some older paper. I think that's retired, actually. And I gave them some different choices. So I said you could choose to use these. You could choose to use maybe 2 of those and then 1 of those. I don't really know if I like the wood on the back, but all of our designer series paper, except for some of the specialty paper, is 2-sided. So then we have this one that's like this on one side, but it has the pine cones on the other, and that's pretty cool. And yes, this one is definitely more festive with the red berries and whatnot, but you still might choose not to do that, so that's entirely up to you. So I gave them some choices. So for tonight, just because, let's switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to use these with the pine cones and pine boughs. And then I also gave them a strip of paper that they would use to stamp their image on. And I explained that they had a choice between using Santa Claus. She could be Mrs. Claus, but you could choose to color her in different colors if you wanted. And then, of course, there is the cookie. Now, the cookie, the only issue with the cookie, and maybe this is just me being a little OCD, is that I don't know if I'd like the cookie with the shaded spruce background. On the other hand, we've got some shaded spruce coloring here, so maybe the cookie could be with that. We have some, what do you call it? Not some shaded spruce, we do, but we have some brown there. So maybe it would work to put the cookie on there. That's entirely up to you. I'm not going to use the cookie for this one just because. And I'm pretty sure I did a cookie card when I displayed this or demonstrated this stamp set before. I am going to use the same sentiment because if you look at the other sentiments, well, Sweet Wishes would work because you're still thinking of this as a cookie. It's a Santa cookie. It's a star-shaped Santa cookie. This is could be considered a cookie. And then I love this one, Baking Spirits Bright. And I guess you still could use that because it is a cookie. Wishing you a holly jolly Christmas. I'm just concerned that that won't fit over there. I'm kind of looking for something that's going to fit right in the corner. But Baking Spirits Bright, that would work. And then that would point out to people that that's a cookie, just in case maybe they hadn't noticed. I don't know. So let's just play with that. All right, let's see. So we're going to stamp our Santa in, oh wait, was I going to use Mrs. Claus or Santa? I'm going to use Mrs. Claus just because I didn't use her on this one. And again, she doesn't have to be Mrs. Claus. She can be your grandma. And she could be wearing your grandma's favorite blue apron. And whatever you want to do with this. So we're going to get a cushion. We're going to get a pad under that. And I used the Memento black ink, and I did explain this in one of my other classes. If you're going to use the blends, you must use the Memento ink, which is a water-based ink. The blends are alcohol-based, so they work well with the water-based, not with the alcohol-based or the solvent-based inks. It's like the opposite. If you're using watercolor pencils, use the permanent ink, like our StazOn ink. If you're using alcohol markers, use the Memento. Stampin' Up! Does not have a black ink pad like our typical ones. We did at one point. It was called Basic Black, and I just have no idea why. It was long before I became a demonstrator that they changed and took that away. So what I did was I bought one of the Whisper White ink pads, which comes uninked, and I re-inked it using my Memento, or not re-inked it, I inked it using my Memento refill, so that I have a black ink pad, and I just like the way the foam pad works better than the way the linen pad works. So that's a personal choice. I feel I'm getting a better image when I use this black ink pad than when I use that one, and it is the same exact ink. I've just chosen to put it in a different pad. All right, so I think that came out very nice. All right, whoa, that could have been bad. All right, I also said that I wanted to stamp my sentiment first, so I'm going to set this aside, just give that ink a couple of seconds to dry, and I'm going to get my card base out, which would be all ready for the people in the class, as well as a card topper and a card liner, which you need because we're using a darker color of cardstock. So I'm just going to fold this in half. It's already been scored. And burnish that down a little bit. Okay. And then I can go ahead. There's no ribbon involved here. So, oh, I don't want to adhere this yet, though, do I? No, I do not. Because I want to put my sentiment, and I think this time I will use the shaded spruce ink, and this sentiment is a little bit smaller, which I think will work out nicely as well. So I'm going to use the shaded spruce ink and put that down in this corner, and that will still give me room if I want to use these embellishments, which by the way are very old. I won a set of them at an event, then I bought a set of them, and then somebody I think gave me a set of them, so I ended up with a lot of these, and I've just been trying to use them up. So that was another reason to bring some non-current product with me. Alright, so I need to punch out Mrs. Santa or Grandma or whoever she is. I'm probably going to want to cut these pointy edges out of my way because they'll probably keep me from getting a good direction on the punch. And then I'm going to line up. There's nothing on the top but her head to use to line it up, so I'm going to use her hands and her feet, which are kind of strange looking, I know. And then I'm going to line them up, and oh, it looks like I have a tiny excess, a tiny bit there where I stamped it too close to the edge. You know what, I'm going to restamp that because I'm not going to like that. So I'm just going to flip it over because even though you can see through this now, you can't see through it once it's glued down. So I'm going to try that one more time, and I'm going to try to get, oh, here's the other one right in the middle. That way. Okay, see, I like the way that comes out. I find that with the Memento ink pad that sometimes it's just kind of a crapshoot, and I don't like that. Alright, so we're going to try this again. And you don't want to just look to see that one area is lined up, because sometimes one can look good and then another isn't. So you really want to look at it all around. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just didn't want to an air hole there. Okay, so that's that. And now I'm going to kind of take a look at what this is going to look like. And then I can decide where to put these and where to put Mrs. Santa. She's going to go kind of in the middle. And then I might want to spread these out a little bit. Okay, so there you go with that. And then the next thing to do is to start coloring. So again, I do need some scrap paper because the blends will soak through. I'm also thinking that since I'm not having to match real red, I'm going to use my cherry cobbler because I like that color a lot, and it won't matter. So I tend to use my bullet end depending on what I'm doing. I've got the dark cherry cobbler here, and I'm just going to put a few lines of dark where I think there might be natural shadows. Not like trying to be a super perfectionist here. So this is where I think this is weird, because I don't know if that's like supposed to be her skin, like if she's just got these super short fat legs. And here it doesn't really look like she has hands either, but again, they're cookies, so it wouldn't. These little things I think I'm going to color black because I think those are supposed to be shoes, but honestly, I don't know. I think maybe I should just leave them alone and that they're just part of her cookie thing. So I'm going to say her dress is red. And her belt could be white. I made Santa's belt black. And then I gave him a silver buckle using a silver Sharpie, metallic Sharpie marker. Alright, I will say Santa's a little bit easier to color. I probably should have pre-colored her, but I didn't think about it. Alright, so now I'm getting out the same color, but the light version of it. So these always come in sets of 2, and they're like $10 and change, I think, for the 2 of them. And they come with a light and a dark. And if you're doing this on an envelope, make sure that you put a piece of scrap paper inside the envelope, because otherwise it could soak through to the back of the envelope, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, so basically what we're doing now is taking some of that dark ink and just dragging it up a little bit, hence the term blenders, so that that dark ink doesn't look so obvious as just dark lines. It's kind of blending into the rest of the red. I hope that makes sense. So yes, I am sort of going over what I did before because I'm trying to drag out some of that dark color and blend it into her sleeve or her shawl or whatever this is supposed to be. When you get into a really tight spot, it's a good idea to color very lightly, or even like make little dots in the tight spots. It won't come out looking like a dot, but it just sort of helps that so that you don't color outside of the lines. But I also showed everybody in my class yesterday how the color lifter worked, and they agreed it was kind of like magic. So someone did color out of the lines a little bit. She didn't really care, and I said, I don't care either, but let me just show you what you can do if it does bother you that you colored out of the lines. And I showed her, and it was pretty cool. Now Stampin' Up! Does have a black blend. I never quite understood this, but they have a light and a dark black. So, alright, I just colored out of the lines onto her collar. I didn't do that on purpose. So I guess the light is maybe more like a charcoal gray. I just didn't get it, to tell you the truth. I might at some point, but I'm very happy using my Sharpie markers or my Micron pens, unless I have a big area of black, and then I might regret that. So now I'm going around her collar, which I want to leave white as well. So this card was not terribly popular yesterday for a couple of reasons. One, I have people who don't like to color. They do like the colored pencils, some of them do, but they're just not big fans of coloring, so this would not be a great big hit, I guess, with some of them. And then sometimes I think something will be a hit, and it turns out it's not. One person said it just wasn't her thing. She didn't like cutesy things. And I kind of knew that about her. Every card she makes is typically like more of a beautiful card with lots of flowers and greenery and things like that. So I think only one person made the card, actually. And she colored with the blends and enjoyed using them. So that was good. So she learned something new yesterday. I am having some problems with my eyes the last couple of days. So it may be time to go back to the ophthalmologist and say, okay, I have cataracts that need to go, but she keeps putting that off because I have another problem that may require surgery. And I think she was kind of hoping she could do them both at once. At least that's what I think she's thinking. Okay, so there's the red. Now, the color lifter looks like it's white, and it kind of is, and you need to use it cautiously. So where I went onto her lace here, the idea is not to use it like an eraser where you go back and forth until the thing's disappeared. You're going to hit it once, and then you're going to watch because it dries, and it gets lighter when it dries. And if after a couple of seconds you don't feel that it's gone yet, you're going to hit it again, and now it's gone. If you sit there and just keep going back and forth over and over again, I think you're going to make a mess. And you could end up like pilling your paper. Alright, so since we don't have white markers, and I don't really need white markers, what I would like to do, well, let me do her face first. I'm going to use Petal Pink for her face. And I could make her hair blonde, but if she's Mrs. Santa, I think she's got white hair. So I'm just going to lightly color her face in this Petal Pink color, so she's got some skin color. Doesn't look sickly. And then that was the light Petal Pink. I have 3 of these because I lost one under a couch, and by the time I found it, it had dried out. Okay, then I'm just going to take the dark Petal Pink and just dab her nose and her cheeks a little bit. Okay, like a little bit of rouge, but not crazy, so it's not sticking out like crazy. And then what I'm going to do with the white, just because I want it to stand out a little bit, is I'm going to take my my Wink of Stella. Okay, this is a glitter brush. It's clear. And I'm going to squeeze a little bit out on my scrap paper just to make sure it's working. I know somebody used it yesterday, so it's working. So I realize this isn't her belt, which is why I'm not coloring it black, even though I said that originally, because it's her apron string, strap, whatever you want to call it. So instead, I'm just giving it a little bit of sparkle. Now, the Wink of Stella brush is a water-based product, so it will, like if I got it onto the red, if I were trying to add this to the red, it would drag some of the red color. So I do want to be careful here. And you don't have to be exact because it is kind of invisible, so if you miss a spot, nobody's really going to notice. I'll hold it up to the light when I'm done so you can see for yourself if you think it did anything. This is a newer Wink of Stella pen. When they're new, they are just really, really pretty. When they get dried out, you know, you don't get quite the same effect. So I'm doing all the lace and her apron, and then why not? Let's give her hair some sparkle too. Okay, there we go. So let me hold that up just so that you can see it. It's always hard to see on the camera, but the Wink of Stella is so worth the price of admission. Excuse me. Oh, wrong spot. Hang on. Let me move it. Come on. Ah, there we go. I just don't know. It's not hitting the light right. Well, you're going to have to take my word for it, I guess, because I'm just not getting enough light on it. But it's very pretty. It really is. I kid you not. It's very pretty. All right, so now I'm going to start putting these down. What did I do with that one glue that I've been using? Here we go. So I'm going to kind of follow the same positioning that I did here because that worked out pretty well. Okay, and I could hang over the edge if necessary because I've got a little bit of room there, but I don't think I need to. Let's see, I think I want to go a little bit lower down because she's going to cover some of that. I was having computer problems earlier and it made me nervous because in the world of computers, my computer is about 6 years old, which I guess makes it practically ancient, right? Okay, and then we'll put that one like that. I guess it doesn't matter if they're overlapping a tiny bit because she's going to cover up there, and I think I'll put her on with some dimensionals. Excuse me. So she's popped up a little bit. And then you can see where I did that other stamping and just didn't like the way it came out to work in the punch. And you're not going to see that at all. It won't matter. And you can also see that the ink from the blends definitely did pop through. Don't do this on Grandma's antique linen tablecloth without something underneath. Okay, and I can pick up all of those with my Take Your Pick tool and just then get them out of the way. And then we'll put her on like this, and I can put her on straight or I can give her a little bit of an angle. Either one is fine. And then what did I do with those embellishments? Oh, here they are. So those came in red or green. I could use one or the other, but again, since I used red on this one, I'll use green on these. I've started writing now on things when I buy them what year and what catalog they were in, because Stampin' Up! Doesn't put that, I don't think. No, they don't have like a copyright date or anything. All right, so now I'm going to use the other end of my Take Your Pick tool. I don't know exactly what happened to this yesterday. It met with some foul play, I think. Okay, so I'm going to use the medium. Boy, that is just not coming off. Of course, like I said, they're old, so maybe they're really down there. Okay, there we go. And I'll put one up here. I don't know if I want to use the really big ones, although actually if I were going to, that would have been a good spot because there's a little bit of, whoops, a little bit of openness there. So I'm going to lift that one back up. Oh, maybe I'm not. No, they have some super strong adhesive on those. All right, and then I'll put another medium one. Wow, okay. So what we're going to do, because they are so sticky, I've never run into that before, is I'm going to use this, which I normally don't like to use because sometimes they go flying. And the other reason I don't like to use it is because sometimes you separate the adhesive dot on the back from the embellishment, and that's no fun. Okay, so we've got 3 of those, and I think that looks fine there. And now, I was trying to figure out why it looked so plain. Well, because, Roberta, you have not put it on its base yet. Duh. All right, let's flatten that out a little bit. So we have Mr. and Mrs. Claus using different designer series paper. And actually, I think it's from the same set. It's just different designs. And using different sentiments, but all of them, the punches and everything else is from the Sweetest Star stamp set and the Sweetest Star bundle, which includes the punch. So if you wanted to buy this today or tomorrow, you would get this for 30% off the price. So check that out. It is, well, I can't tell you the bundle number offhand. Hang on, and I'll get to that. All right, and then I don't remember what I did for the inside of that one. I did put, what did I do with my liner piece? I know I took it out, or I thought I did. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What I suggested in my class was that they could certainly use some of the stamps. They could use the snowflakes or whatever on the inside. But what I thought might be kind of cool to do, only since I had enough of them to do it with, would be to take some of these already cut out stars like this one here and just sort of glue it like that on the corner, and then take my snips and trim. And now I've got kind of a pre-made little decoration. Probably should have put the glue on the stars, just so we're getting those points down. And that gives you a little decoration right there. And if you wanted to, you could add a Merry Christmas sentiment to the inside as well. Okay, so there we go. That is card number 2. I don't, I do have a third card for you. Excuse me, I'm not going to say that I don't, I do. I just wanted to show you. Now I'm cheating and doing what I don't like to do, and I'm sticking them to the front of the stamp case so that they won't get lost until I can put them away. And just for the record, that's not always the best idea. Just so you know, it doesn't always work out. Okay, so then the very next thing, and the last thing that I did, was that I wanted to introduce my customers to the Memories and More card packs and the Memories and More cards and envelopes. I have showed them to them before, but we've never actually done anything with them, and I think it was hard for them to picture what they were exactly and how they might work, and so it wasn't very successful. So I had gone to a recent workshop, and I think I showed you some of the cards from that workshop, and that workshop was using the something or other reindeer. No, that's a different one. So it was the reindeer, maybe it's just called Reindeer Memory and More cards. And I told them that they came in a package with the cards that were 4x6 as well as cards that were 3x4 and 2 sheets of stickers. And at the workshop that I went to, these were some of the cards that we made. Now, we didn't get a full set of the cards. I think there were only 2 of everything. So yesterday what I did was I showed them the ones that I had made in the class that I attended. And then I gave them everything that was left over from that in kits. So there were no 2 of anything. So this was one of the kits. This was another one that they could have made. I had everything for them to make this one, but I had a different ribbon, so I just gave them a different ribbon. This one, somebody was able to make that exact same one. And then here is this one. And I don't think anybody made that one. Okay? But I wanted them to see how it worked. And I also wanted them to see that even though this was originally a 4x6 card, it was cut down so that to make it more interesting, we could mat it on a piece of real red, and then put that on a piece of Granny Apple Green, and then put this on the liner. And we did use some ribbon. Now what happened that was really cool was in Coffee and a Card, the folks have an option to make 1, 2, 3, or 4 cards. And it's actually almost pretty rare that someone makes 4 cards. You know what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for my glue that was here, like 6 minutes ago. Oh my gosh, it's got to be right in front of me. This is why I put multiple glues out on the table. Okay, so they can make 1, 2, 3, or 4 cards. Yesterday, one of the ladies made 5 cards. I didn't even know what to charge her because my pricing structure is based on making 1, 2, 3, or 4 cards. So she got a bit of a bargain, I think, but that's okay. And that was because this was one of the cards, or something like this was one of the cards that she made, which, as you can see, is going to go together in no time. So we took this ribbon, which is the silver something or other ribbon. I'm sorry, I'm not being very helpful with product names right now, but I can get that information to you. And we did the same thing I did with the other card. We just put it on the back using some Scotch tape. And I'm going to just make sure that I've got this straight. So we didn't need a very long piece of ribbon. So it has the, the image of being wrapped all the way around, but it's not wrapped all the way around. All right, so we put those on there, and then we glue this down on here. And I'm going to add some extra glue to the tape and the ribbon just to make sure that that's holding down, because Scotch tape, and I say Scotch, it's probably not Scotch tape. It's probably something different, something generic from Staples or from Walmart or who knows where I got it from. All right. Now sometimes that wiggly thing bothers me, and I'll put a dot of glue or a glue dot under there, but I think you would see it, so I'm not going to do that now. All right. And then they had the stickers that they could choose from, because I chose not to use a lot of the stickers when I made my cards at the workshop. And I kind of like this one, but you've got a lot to choose from. So for the inside, I'm just putting that there. Now again, I gave them some Christmas sentiments. So this says Very Merry. What if I stamped Christmas on the inside? And honestly, I think yesterday at class, nobody chose to do that. They liked the idea that these cards were quick, and by choosing to stamp something else on the inside, you were kind of taking away the quick. It wasn't going to be quick anymore, and they didn't want that. Hang on. I put it back. Who knows what I was thinking, huh? Who puts things back? Good grief. So let's put that up where you can see what I'm doing. So, and I understand that if you're an avid crafter, you might not like this. You might not like using stickers. It may seem kind of childlike, but they really are very pretty stickers. They're very adult stickers. I don't think they're kiddie looking. They're made out of cardstock, not out of paper, so they're very sturdy as well. And as far as I can tell, the adhesive on them is very good. Now I'm doing something a little different here. I'm putting the Christmas up at top, because I do want to have room. Okay, so that came out a little light on one end, and I'm not up for fixing that. What you can do to fix that is take a blender pen, dip it in your ink pad, and very gently go over it, and I'll probably do that on my own, but I won't do that right this second. Okay, you can also see that the photopolymer stamps will stain when you use the reddish colors. They don't stain with blue or green, just anything that seems to have red in it will stain the stamps, and that makes no difference. It still works just fine. Because here I'm going to put the person's name, and then here I have room to write a message, so that's why I wanted that up front. Okay, If you have a Stamparatus, which we had to retire due to some legal issues, this would be a good time to use that on a card like this, because the larger images sometimes require extra stamping, and the stamp platform lets you do that. If you do not have a stamp platform, I would recommend getting one. The Tim Holtz stamp platform I'm really fond of. A lot of people rave about the Misty. I think it's flimsy. It's just me. I don't know why I don't like it. I borrowed one from a friend at a crop and used it once, and I was not impressed. But you know, you have to try these things out for yourself, read reviews, see what you like. I wish we had not lost ours. It's a shame. And I think it was a sham too, because I don't think ours was anything like the one, like the Misty. Nothing like it at all. Okay, so that's just a way of using these Memory and More card packs. And so then the other thing that I did at our class yesterday was I said, okay, so I bought this Memory and More card pack and Memory and More cards and envelopes a year ago. It's called the Berry Christmas Memories and More cards and envelopes. And I also bought the card pack. So the card pack is the one where you get the stickers, and the one where you get the 4x6 and the 3x4 cards. The card and envelope pack is where you get pre-decorated envelopes and pre-decorated cards. Now these are not your A2 card sizes, these are larger. And I just basically kind of said, here you go. Let's see what you can do with those. I did. I said, here you go, let's see what you can do with those. And I really wanted them to just be creative and do their own thing, and they did. I could not have been happier. So one woman even said, would it be okay if I took one of these and cut it up? I said, yep, go right ahead. And then she said, what about if I took, let's see if I can find what she was using there. She said, what if I took, so here, by the way, are the stickers. So this kind of coordinated with that polar bear set from last year. Berry Christmas, it was called. Berry, I don't know. Something. So they have two sides on them. Okay, some of them have a greeting, so it could be a card front all on its own. Then some of them are designed, the smaller ones in particular, are designed to be used for pocket scrapbooking, where you would actually put some journaling on here about what Christmas it was and what little Susie was doing. So the person in my class asked me, and why I can't find it now, I don't know, but there's a card somewhere in here that's just full of presents. Maybe they got used up. So the whole card shows presents. Oh, here it is. Duh. So she said, would it be okay if I cut one of these up? And I said, yes, it is okay. Hack up, cut it away. So she did. She cut it away. And what she ended up doing was was she the one that didn't want to make the bigger card? Somebody used these but wanted to make an A2 card. So they asked me for just a regular basic white card base. I think this is the one. Maybe not. She may have used these. I'm trying to remember. So let's say she used these. Yeah, I think she did, because this is bigger. So she cut out all of these presents except for what you see here. She cut them out, and then what she did was she lined them all up here. She fussy cut them all out, and she lined them all up here. I can't remember if she used stickers or not. And then I can't remember. I'm not helping, am I? Not remembering. Can't remember what she chose to put on the front, but let's just pretend she put that on the front, all right? So this means that most of the work is done for you here, but then she did the fussy cutting. So these can be used in so many ways, and I can't even tell you how excited I was to see her just totally coloring out of the lines, thinking outside the box, and using these in different ways, all right? But if you don't want to color outside the lines, and if you don't want to think outside the box, then basically you have cards that are just ready made for you to go, and all you have to do is write inside. You don't even necessarily have to stamp inside, because you could use one of the stickers, warm wishes, with love, let it snow, Merry Christmas. You could use any of those on the inside and just write, Dear Debbie, love Susie, and you're done. And for some people, that's super, super attractive, all right? The other thing that you could do would be to take one of these and put it on the front, and then maybe cut a piece of this up and put some of that on each side. So these are great for a beginner crafter. These are great to buy as a gift for someone, and maybe you say to them, come on over and we'll sit down and we'll make these together. You get a set for yourself and you get a set for them. Like I said, these are retired, but they have new ones this year. The only thing that's different this year is that they don't seem to be making the envelopes that totally match a set. In some cases, what I'm seeing are basic white cards and envelopes that come in regular size, like A2 size, and in smaller sizes. Some of them are online exclusives, and some of them, I think, are in the catalog. I'm trying to remember. I will do my best. It's so tough because I have something that goes on now Thursday mornings, so that I don't get the time to post my pictures like I had before. And then sometimes I have a meeting immediately following that, or another meeting Thursday night. And it just, I feel sometimes like my time is not my own. And I probably just need to do something about that. But anyway, I will try to post the information on what is available. It is in the catalogs as well. I also wanted to share with you real quick. I'm sure I'm on overtime again. I am. So the making part is over, but I just wanted to share with you. I just purchased this new set called Cake Celebrations. I think this is an online exclusive. We had a cake set similar to this a number of years ago, but it didn't have the dies, and I can't wait to work on this. It has wedding, and as many of you know, I'm going to Ireland for a wedding in a few weeks. And so I'm thinking I'm going to make the cake out of this, or at least make the card out of using the cake part, but then I want to do something to put like an Irish flair on it. Have not decided yet. This is one of our kits, and it is an amazing kit. It's an amazing kit if you have children in your life, but even if you don't. I don't want to open it up and take the whole thing apart, but what it is it's kind of like an advent calendar. All right, you can string it up like on clothesline. You could string it up across the fireplace, across a door, wherever you have the place to do it. It's got numbers for all 25 days. It's got pretty little envelopes. It gives you everything you need. This is a no stamping kit, so you don't have to know how to stamp. You don't have to know how to do any of that. You put it together. Basically, you're just gluing them together. You hang them. They give you the clip, I keep wanting to call them paper clips. They give you the clothespins, and I believe this kit is $22. And what you can do is in the little envelopes, you can either put an actual treat, or you could put like a clue to where they could find something. You could put in a certificate. You could put a gift card in one or two of them. You could put a few dollars in one or two of them. You could put in like a certificate for a day at the museum, or an ice cream sundae, or, just let your imagination take you away. And you can see they've got all the different decorations here. So some of them have poinsettias. Some of them have like a, gosh, I struggled with coming up with a word for that, was like a bow, or a, I don't know what you want to call it. There are wreaths. There are holly leaves and holly berries. So they don't all look alike. There is 2 different colors of twine in here, and it's nice, substantial twine. And everything is all you need is probably glue. I don't even think you need scissors, and then they provide you with the dimensionals. So everything you need is right in here. I'm thinking of using this kit to make tags. So I'm thinking of skipping the numbers and using the numbers for something else. And I already have an idea for using the numbers, and then making these into gift tags. So that's just my thought. Okay, so this, I believe, like I said, is an online exclusive. I'm guessing because it's so adorable that it's going to sell out, but I'm sure that they will keep replenishing it because it is so popular and it is so nice. The other kit that I just got, which I think would make a wonderful gift, no, it's not a pizza. I think it would make a wonderful gift for somebody. a college student, save it for next year when someone's starting college, maybe someone who just got an apartment. It is a kit that makes a magnet board. So it comes with a very nice frame, and it comes with the magnet board. That's like already assembled. And on the back, it already has your picture hanging thing so that you could hang it up. It does come out in case you wanted to add things to the magnet board as a decoration, and there are ideas for that as well. It comes with the tape that you're going to need to make this. It comes with the magnets. I believe these are magnets. I think I could, hang on, I can open this up. I just don't always like to tear things open, but this is just too cool not to show you everything. So, oh, and I need to tell you too, so hang on, it comes with directions, just like all of our kits do, and the directions are good. All right, I need to tell you this. The directions are good. They make sense. So you can use this any way you want, but what they are suggesting that you do with it is to have one magnet clip that is a calendar. So it's just going to, no, I take it back. It's not a calendar. It's going to have like a quote or something on it, and you can pick your own quotes and print them out from Pinterest or whatever. Then it's going to have shopping list things, and if you have access to a laminator, you could even laminate some of these things. So all of these different things, you could just have like to-do lists, you could have important notes. This is a calendar for each month, and these are the pockets. So you put them together like so, and they form these pockets. And there are 2 of these, and you have a choice of which side you want to use. Okay. Then you have the background paper that you're going to use to cover your calendar. So it's not just white. It's not a whiteboard. I don't think it's meant to be a whiteboard. I think it's just meant to be a magnetic board. So you have a choice of putting, sorry, I think I need 3 hands. Either one of those papers in there, and they're 2-sided. You can save the paper and change it out as time goes on, okay? Then you have all of these. These are the clips, I'm assuming. Yes, these are your magnetic clips in the box, and they are gold tone. Okay, very nice. Those are your clips. And let's see, what else have we got here? And these are all the different little things that you can use on there. So they're cards. They look like they're probably 3x4. So you can write notes. Here's one that looks like a calendar. You could make copies of some of these if you want to have multiples of them. These could be reminder notes. And like I said, if you have access to a laminator, sometimes libraries have laminators. Here's more calendars, but in a different color, more notes. Things that say, you know, important or dates to remember or so on. You could even put favorite photographs up there. So there's duplicates of most of these to write on. You could at some point just make your own with index cards. So I think there's just a whole lot of things you could do with these. This could be like your to-do list for a day or a week, or it could be goals for a month. And there's just more of the same. And to me, it's just adorable. And then there are these sheets here that have things. And by the way, because these kits go to all of our markets, we've got a sheet that is in German or Dutch. We've got a sheet that's in English. Yeah, one of these is German, one is Dutch. I think this one's German, and yeah, I don't know. So these are English. These, of course, are just images, so there is no language involved. There should be French. Usually we have French. And these are stickers, so they will stick onto things. All right, journey, grateful, destination. Oh, this is French. So instead of journey, it is destination is the word French. Gratitude is the same in French, and then the rest of these words are more obviously French. Petit rappel, which means remember this. So you get a little French lesson here too. Un nouveau jour, which is today is a new day. Rêver, which is dream. Excuse my pronunciation, it stinks. I never took French. All right, so this is just, it's adorable. I'm so glad that I got it. I probably will get more because I think they are ideal gifts. I have some young friends who I know will be going off to college in a couple of years, and if they're going to be in a dorm, I think this would be a great thing for them to have. And so I just wanted to share that with you. I'm not quite sure what the double-sided tape is for, but that's because I did not yet read the directions. So there you go. I didn't pay attention to the directions, but here they are. They're in multiple languages. You just want English, obviously. Okay. And it shows you how to make the pockets and how to put the paper on and everything else. So there you go. All right, and it's called Celebrate Today Magnet Board Kit. And I believe it was $25, which I thought was pretty reasonable for all of this stuff. I was pretty impressed. The magnets blend right in. They're not like ugly black magnets. They're silver magnets. Oh, did you hear that? You can't see it, but that was it sticking to my lamp. So it's a very strong magnet. It's stuck right to my lamp. It like basically flew out of my hand and onto the lamp. And without taking the wrapper off this, which I'm just not ready to do, let's see. Yeah, it's sticking to that too. No problem. So they're very strong magnets. They're definitely not chintzy magnets. All right, so just another thought for a Christmas gift. And maybe I will put this together as one of my 12 days of Christmas, because that would be kind of a fun thing to show you, and then you would really see what it looked like put together and decide if this is a gift you want to buy for someone. Or, you know, there's this thing that I do every year on my birthday and Christmas. It's called Happy Birthday to Me or Merry Christmas to Me, because if you really want to make sure that you get something that you're really going to like, you know, the best way to do it is to buy it yourself, right? All right, so thank you so much for watching me today. Sorry for going overtime, and I will see you 1 week from tonight. Have a great week and enjoy your weekend.